Hey guys, this is Ethan on Team 10 tonight, Washington Redskins. One thing I want to say about the Cowboys video, I love how it's gotten around. It's been awesome. I love the criticism, but if you do it, please frame it in a positive manner. Actually, make a point and don't just criticize to troll and just be rude, because rudeness won't be tolerated. There was some great constructive criticism on the Cowboys one, stuff that I'm going to take into account in future videos. So, Redskins for sure, and in the future, please be constructive, and just, if you have something to say, feel free to say it. I won't take it personally, but just frame it in a positive manner, and then there won't be an issue. So looking at the Redskins, they have a lot of little things that I want to look at. Mike Shanahan, great head coach, known as a bit of a guru offensively, and he's brought in the 3-4 defense to Washington after learning it under, I believe he learned the more two-gap style of 3-4 defense, although has a bit of an interesting twist on it. Play a little bit of 4-3 mix into the 3-4, which I think is pretty interesting. But looking at what the Redskins want to do with their first-round pick, Jake Locker has been a name that's been bandied around a little bit, and I think he's the kind of quarterback that Shanahan would love because he's toolsy. He has a very similar college background to Jay Cutler, a guy that he, of course, traded up for when he was in Denver. But in terms of physical skills, he reminds me a bit of Jake Plummer, except with a better deep ball. And Shanahan's actually already made the comparison to Plummer. So I just want to get this straight away. Quarterbacks are going to be at a premium in this draft, and I could 100% see Locker being drafted in the top 10 with Washington's pick. I could see it happening. I'm not sure it's going to happen, just because I think that there are going to be better players on the board, and I could see them going the BPA route, just because they need a lot of help in a lot of different areas. But I could see Locker being the guy. And if not in the first round, if he somehow happens to slip, I could see them reaching him. Don't see him getting past Washington's pick in the second round, per se. I don't think he'll end up there, but I don't see him getting past there either. So, looking at Washington's options early in the draft, if A.J. Green slips to 10, and I think it's possible, I mean, we saw it happen with Michael Crabtree a couple of years ago. I could see it happening as well with this guy, just because his physical skills are amazing, but they're not quite as good as some other players in the draft, and some other guys might go before him. So I could see A.J. Green slipping to 10, and if that happens, I think that Washington will jump on him just because he's such a talent. Other players to keep an eye on, J.J. Watt of Wisconsin could be an intriguing guy for them because he can play that 3-4 DE that they're looking for. And Adam Carricker is a good left end, but they could always use a compliment across from him, or they could always replace him because he's a replacement level player at this point. He's a good player, but they could do a little bit better. So J.J. Watt could be an intriguing guy. I could see Amukamara, but I don't see him slipping past the Cowboys. However, if he does, I could see him being a pick for them. So they have a lot of options in that position. I think at this point they'll go BPA. One of those three guys I mentioned, a possibility. Cam Jordan as well. They can play him at DE. I don't see him being an elephant-type linebacker, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later with why I think an elephant-type linebacker is possible for this team. But a couple of Golden Bears are already there. Couldn't hurt to add a third, especially one of Cam Jordan's talent. At this point, though, A.J. Green is my guy in my mock that I have for them, so we'll see what happens. So, looking later in the draft, as I said, they could take Locker in the second round. Another guy they could take in the second round is Cam Hayward out of Ohio State, if they end up taking someone not J.J. Watt early. Hayward is really getting underrated, and it's a little odd, because he's a great player. And I think that he's being underrated a bit because of some phantom circumstances beyond his control. I didn't see the effort issue at Ohio State. I saw a guy who was getting doubled and tripled every single snap. And he fits what they want to do in Washington really well, and I could see him being a pick there in the second round. If they don't take him, because Jeremy Jarman is a guy with a lot of potential, who they may like over him, and they may have other needs that they want to take instead, I could see a guy like Lazarius Levingston of LSU being a sleeper pick. But still, that run stuffer big guy who can play 3-4 defensive end is important. I want to talk a little bit about a running back I love for these guys. That's Bilal Powell out of Louisville. One-cut type of zone guy who would be perfect in the zone blocking system. He would be a match made in heaven for Washington. He's a little bit older, but that didn't deter them too much from taking guys in the past, and I think he would be a great selection in the 4th or 5th round for Washington. So keep an eye on him. Wide receiver-wise, Austin Pettis is an interesting guy in general. I'm going to give a little bit of a diatribe about him just because I think that it bears remembering. This is a personal story. I have never been a fan of Austin Pettis. In college, I thought he was slow. I thought it was Eric Decker 2.0. Thought he couldn't separate. Thought that he really was only successful because he had a very accurate quarterback, ran simplified schemes, and played against whack cornerbacks. Then the combine comes around, and he ran a decent 40, a very good 10 and 20, and an exemplary short shuttle. The fastest wide receiver short shuttle since Julian Edelman and Wes Welker. He was that good. So then I rewatched his tape, and I realized, wow, this guy has amazing short area quickness considering he's over 6 feet tall and around 200 pounds. So now I'm completely on the Pettis bandwagon. And this is the kind of stuff that the Combine brings out. It really makes you go back to the tape and watch these guys. And I think Pettis fits what Washington's going to do. And I think he could be a pick for them in the middle of the draft. And I think he's going to be an underrated player at the next level. And Jeremy Curley of TCU also fits what they want to do. He could be a nice pick. Offensive line-wise, zone blocking system, important to remember. Smaller guys, could use some guys in the interior. They have a great guy. I love the Trent Williams pick last year. He's going to be a good fit in that system for a long time. So, I think they're okay at the tackle position, maybe some backup. But I think interior linemen might be a bit more pressing in terms of zone block guys. So, going back to defense, now my thing about elephants. The Redskins are in a weird position because since they just transitioned to the 3-4, they actually have some guys who are really typical elephant linebackers, meaning guys who were big defensive ends, not just these tweener guys who sort of jumped out and became outside linebackers, guys who were legitimate, huge defensive ends in college, switching to outside linebacker. And Andre Carter is definitely an example of this, drafted as a 4-3 defensive end, transitioned a bit to outside linebacker, and he's done pretty decently in both. Brian Arapko, a bit of a smaller guy, but still the kind of guy who you would probably expect to be a bit more of a 4-3 defensive end. Lorenzo Alexander as well. So a guy who I think could be a really interesting player to watch. Just keep an eye on him to Washington is Alan Bailey of Miami. And I'm not saying they're going to pick him. I'm not sure they're going to pick him. I have to do more research into the subject, for sure. And if you guys have any insight, please let me know. But Bailey is a really intriguing prospect in terms of his athletic ability, his overall penetration skill set that would definitely fit the elephant role extremely well. He can stop the run, he can get to the passer, and he would project to be an interesting elephant outside linebacker, especially as a possible heir to Andre Carter on that edge. So I think that it could be an interesting second or third round pick. We'll see what happens. Overall, if they decide to go the more conventional route, Greg Romeus would also make a lot of sense. And there are other guys who'd make sense too. But that definitely, in my opinion, and I could be wrong here, it bears watching. Cornerback-wise, two guys that I like to them to watch, Devon House of New Mexico State, Curtis Marsh of Utah State. Big guys, long arms, rangy, can play man. Good possible picks for Washington. Also go for a safety complement to Leron Landry in this draft. Could use some depth of position as well. So overall, Washington's an interesting team, and we're done with the top 10. I have a link in my profile of a March Madness pool if you're interested. It's a $5 buy-in. All the money goes to a charity to stop childhood obesity. It's a student-run initiative. Might be interesting if any of you guys are into that kind of stuff. If not, then I'll see you tomorrow with Houston. And Houston is an interesting team to look at, so I hope that you enjoy. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.